We have reached footnote 500. This footnote goes here. To make the sentence for which this footnote goes to clear, we need to back up a little bit. Okay, so what topic are we under then in the first place? This footnote is in the chapter of the attribute of doing, fi'l. It has many names. It is the creating or creation, which is his attribute though. Yani, it's called ihdath, event creating, ikhtira', inventing, al-ijad, existence creating, ibda'. This means creating without a previous example, originating, khalq, creating or creation, fi'l, doing or action, suna', making, takhliq, creating. It means creating a lot. And there's more names for this attribute. So that's the topic here. Now, hey, I want to start you off somewhere that makes it easy for us to understand. So I need to talk about the issue in general first. So the issue is, as you know, it is confirmed in the Quran that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala yaf'al, he does or he acts. So that's a verb. Yaf'al, he does or he acts. What does this mean? Well, some of the scholars say this means Allah has an attribute. Yani, it refers to an attribute of his. This verb, yaf'al, refers to an attribute of his called fi'l, doing. And they say fi'l is an attribute. And therefore, whoever has this attribute is called fa'il, doer. And they say Allah is the doer. Here. Therefore, the doer, the fa'il, is eternal, beginningless. And what validates this description of being a doer, an eternal doer, is the fi'l, the attribute. So it must be an eternal doing. So the eternal doer has an eternal doing. And they say, and as for the done things, they are created. They have beginning. And some of the scholars, they say the doing of Allah is the trace of his power. The trace of his power. Trace of his power means something created. Something created then means is not an attribute of his, not an attribute of his self. And if you were to ask them, if that's not an attribute of his self, then why do you call it the doing of Allah? They will say it is a type of idafa. It's an idafa. It's an attribution. It's a kind of attribution. Don't you say, for example, didn't Prophet Salih say, Naqat Allah, the camel of Allah? This doesn't mean that the camel is an attribute of his. Or didn't Allah say, Bayti, my house, about the Kaaba? This doesn't mean that the Kaaba is an attribute of his. Also, you could say, according to this way, fi'lullah, the doing of Allah. And this doesn't refer to an attribute of his that is eternal. Rather, it is a trace of his power. The attribute is the power. And the doing is a trace of his power, therefore it is a creation. So, in the first place, that's two sayings. Do you have any question before I go further? So there's two madhabs here. Both of those are for the people of the prophetic
Yes.
way. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Yes,
salam wa rahmatullah.
I missed a couple of your classes lately. I got so busy. I'm glad I catched up today.
Yes, mashallah. Hey, we were missing you. Barakallahu fikum. Glad to see you. Barakallahu fikum.
Thank you. I'm a bit confused what you just said about Allah's doing and therefore it's a creation.
Okay.
What does that
So,
mean?
yes. So, in the first place, in order for us to confirm something about Allah, a word, some particular word, we want to find it in the revelation. So there needs to be something in the revelation. There needs to be something in the revelation so that we will have this discussion in the first place. So it came in the revelation that Allah yaf'al. This is a verb. Yaf'al means he does. Also, it came in the revelation that Allah is fa'al. This means doer. In fact, that's an emphatic form, an emphasized form of fa'il, fa'al. This means one who does a lot. So then there must be a fi'l, a doing. That's clear until here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from here, the people of the prophetic way, Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they went in two different ways. Now, the way you're asking me is the way of those who say the doing of Allah is a trace of his power. Like, for example, you could say, this world is the doing of Allah. So this world is creation, though. So if you say this world is a doing of Allah, then it means something created. That means the doing is something created. That's clear?
Yes.
Okay. So if we say the doing is something created, then this must mean it's not an attribute of his, because he is eternal. None of his attributes are created. So then, if you go this way, you will say the doing of Allah is a trace of his power. Yani, you would be saying the attribute in question here, or the attribute of concern here, is the power. The power of Allah is his eternal attribute. And the creations are a trace of his power. That's his doings. So, do you have a question after this? Yani, that's the point here.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So we know that Allah's creation is eternal. Sorry, is power of creation or is attributes of creation. Al-Khaliq, his name Al-Khaliq is eternal.
Just only as much as I have mentioned so
So
far. We have a
we are
lot to
saying
go.
that.
Hold on. Just okay. Gonna let you ask your question, but don't take me somewhere I didn't mention only because we have a lot to cover, inshallah. So go ahead, ask your question. I thought you were going somewhere that
So
I didn't. I
the
wasn't going.
dunya that's created.
Mhm.
No, so the dunya that's created by his eternal attributes, which is al khaliq.
No, here, let me stop you.
Uh-huh.
According to the way I'm telling you, that's not, you're not going to talk that way. That's a different way. There's two ways. The people of the Sunnah have two ways here. One way is the way of this, which is the Ash'ari way, the way of the later Ash'aris, is to say the doing of Allah is a trace of His power. They don't say that His creating is His eternal attribute. They say He has an attribute called power, an eternal power. By His eternal power, creations come into existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's their way. That's their madhab. So you want to, first of all, in order to understand the lesson today, you need to understand both madhabs here. There's two sayings here, two madhabs. One madhab is the madhab of those who say Allah is attributed with an eternal power, and the doing is a trace of His power. It's not an eternal attribute of His. That's one madhab. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other madhab says the doing of Allah is His eternal attribute. That's what you're about to ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's two different sayings. And we're just trying to establish this first before we go further. Is this much clear?
Yeah. I mean, they're both valid, right?
Yes?
Okay. Well, I guess I should keep listening until I understand it completely.
Okay. Inshallah ta'ala. Let's see. Probably I will answer, maybe I'll answer what you want to ask. But I got
Mm-hmm.
knocked off my foot.
Barakallah.
Amin wa fikum. Okay. So, in the first place, this is the case. There's two sayings here. First saying is what? The saying of those who say the doing, the fi'l of God is His eternal attribute. And therefore He is an eternal fa'il doer. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. The second saying is the saying of those who said the doing of God is a trace of His power. If it's a trace of His power, that means it's not eternal. If it's not eternal, it means it's not His eternal attribute then. What's His eternal attribute here in this case then? Power, they say. And will too. Okay, so these two sayings. Now, both of these sayings are sayings for Ahlus Sunnah. Those who said the doing is an eternal attribute of God, those are the Maturidis and others. They took it from Abu Hanifa. That's Abu Hanifa's way. That's the Hanafi way. And others too, not just Abu Hanifa. This is the Maturidi way, who took it from Abu Hanifa. Rahimahumullah ta'ala. And those who said the doing of Allah is a trace of His power, not an eternal attribute, that's Imam al-Ash'ari's way himself and the way of the later Ash'aris. And many of the early Ash'aris agreed with Abu Hanifa in this case. So al-Ash'ari himself says the doing of Allah is a trace of His power. And the later Ash'aris, they say that too. And many of the early ones, they say what the other party says. Early Ash'aris, they say what the other party says. That the doing of Allah is His eternal attribute. So there's two sayings here for Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. According to both sayings, the done thing is created. No one says that the done thing is eternal amongst the people of the Sunnah. No, I'm not in the footnotes yet. I just need to build up to it a little bit. Both parties say the done thing is created, has a beginning. But what are the Ash'ari saying? They are saying the doing is the done thing. The doing is the done thing. The Maturidis are saying the doing is the eternal attribute of the doer, and the done thing is created. So these are two different sayings. Now, you're going to see here that we are going to support the first saying. The first saying, which is that the doing of Allah is his eternal attribute. This chapter here, it addresses the issue and it argues for the Maturidi way, most of the chapter. Now, we have a footnote here. Footnote 500. This footnote goes, let's just start reading from this. I can't. I have to back up. I can't. I can't start there. Okay. So let me read for you. The attribute of doing. This eternal, everlasting attribute of creating, once we called it eternal, that means we're taking the Maturidi saying from the beginning. The Ash'aris don't say this. That the khalq is eternal attribute. This eternal, everlasting attribute of creating is called ihdath, event creating, ikhtira', inventing, al-ijad, existence creating, al-ibda', originating, al-khalq, creating, al-fi'l, doing, al-suna', making, al-takhliq, creating, a lot, and insha', initiating, and ibda', starting. This one up is up here is al-ibda' with an ayn. Al-ibda', originating. Al-ibda' with the hamza, starting, meaning creating. All of those are names for the same attribute. In English, we just have few words. Creating or creation, doing, acting or action, and making, and not much more will we use here. It is bringing things into existence from non-existence. Non-existence, which is nothingness, as you know. I'm going to summarize a little bit here. Abu Hanifa said, وَأَمَّا الْفِعْلِيَّةِ, as for the attributes of doings, فالتخليق والترزيق والإنشاء والإبداع والصنع وغير ذلك من صفات الفعل. They are تخليق, creating, ترزيق, providing, إنشاء, initiating, إبداع, originating, صنع, making, and other than that, of attributes of doings. Yani, these are different names for the same attribute. Okay. And it's also called takween, which means existence creation or being creation. Creating being, creating kaun, being, which means existence. Takween is creating kawn. Ijad is creating wujud. Ihdath is creating huduth. Ihdath, event creating huduth. Ijad, existence creating wujud. Takween is being creating kawn. So this attribute has all these names. And amongst the people of the Sunnah are those who say it is an eternal attribute of Allah. That's what we're going to argue for here. In this case, is famous to the Sunni theologians. As for the Wahhabis, I think they have nothing to do with this. They have no hand in this. Yani, I don't know if they ever have any comment on this topic at all. I never saw Wahhabi talk about this or write about this. Not that I look very thoroughly into Wahhabi literature, though. So, according to Al-Bukhari, Abu Hanifa, the Maturidis, and the early Ash'aris, like I told you, also Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and our Shaykh, and that's why we're arguing for this. And this is attributed to Ibn Abbas. The Takween is an eternal attribute. Because Allah is creator in eternity. Takween is an attribute. So then the one who has Takween would be called Mukawwin. One of the things that you need to understand this topic very well is some basic rules of Arabic sarf, conjugation, how to go from one form of the word to the other. This amount of information of Arabic language, this topic of Arabic language is very important to understand this topic. Takween, that's an attribute. Then if someone has this attribute, he's called mukawwin, according to Arabic language. Fi'l, that's an attribute. So whoever has this attribute is called fa'il, according to Arabic language. This is what the Maturidis are saying. They're saying he must be fa'il because he has fi'l. He must be mukawwin because he has takween. He must be khaliq because he has khalq. Or the other way, he must have khalq because he's khaliq. Creating. He must have khalq, creating, because he's khaliq, creator. Or he must be khaliq, creator, because he has khalq, creating or creation as an attribute. This is from the Arabic language. And the Maturidis are holding fast to this, and this is amongst what makes their position strong. They are not going to diverge from Arabic language here, nor are they going to diverge from the mind, nor are they going to go against any of the religious texts. Whereas for the Ash'aris, even though you can say what they say, but now we want to investigate, is one of these sayings stronger? If you want to investigate very strongly what the Ash'aris say, it's going to cause them to divert from the Arabic language in a way. We're going to see. That's where the footnote is. The way the Ash'aris say it causes them to divert from the Arabic language. Because they're going to say Allah is Khaliq, but they're not in eternity, but they're not going to confirm that He has Khalq in eternity. The Maturidis are saying he must have Khalq in eternity because he's Khaliq in eternity. The Maturidis say to the Ash'aris, don't you agree that Allah has Al-Khaliq in eternity? The Ash'aris will say, Bala, indeed, He is, for sure, Khaliq in eternity. So the Maturidis will say, then you must say that He has Khalq in eternity, or else you're going to be saying there's a Khaliq without a Khalq. And the Ash'aris, at the end of the day, Their answer is this is a linguistic take. Our take is a religious take, not a linguistic take. The Ash'aris are saying we're going to say Allah is Khaliq in eternity because He told us in the Quran that He is Al Khaliq, and the Quran is the speech of Allah. And the speech of Allah, which is His attribute, is eternal. So the Quran, the revealed expression, refers to an eternal speech. And so this revealed Quran that refers to an eternal speech, in this revealed Quran, we are informed that Allah is Al-Khaliq. So then He must be Al-Khaliq in eternity. The Ash'aris are saying, this is religion here, not language. We're not saying He's Khaliq in eternity because He has Khalq. We're saying He's Khaliq in eternity because Allah said so. So this is a religious take. They say to the Maturidis, your take is a linguistic take. Okay. But why? Why is there an issue here? Because for the Ash'aris, they are saying, because if you say has khalq in eternity, then you're going to be saying there's a makhluk in eternity. You're going to be saying there's a created thing in eternity. And that's impossible. So they say, we say Allah is Khaliq in eternity because He said so. Not because He has an eternal khalq, which would imply that there's an eternal makhluk. And this implication is invalid, so we're not going to confirm the eternal khalq. So if they were asked, and what do you confirm then? They're going to say, we confirm the eternal power. Yeah, I'll say it again for you.
Yeah, thanks, Shay. You're just talking a little too fast for me. I'm right.
Sure, no problem. Let me even give you a visual here. 1 second. Okay, you have 3 words. You have the word, I'm going to keep it in English here, creator. Creation or creating. Let me just use the word creation. And created. You have 3 things here. So, here's the question. Is Allah creator? Yes. By agreement? Yes. The Ash'aris and the Maturidis agree. Creator in eternity? Yes. Oh, okay, so they agree here. Yes. So, does this mean then, if He is creator, that He has an attribute called creation, which means creating? So, one group said yes. They said, so creator is eternal, so His attribute of creating is eternal. And as for the created thing is not eternal, it's created. Eternal creator with an attribute, with an eternal attribute of creation, meaning creating, and the created thing has a beginning. The other group said, eternal creator, yes. But if He had an attribute of creation in eternity, this would mean the created thing is eternal. And that's impossible. They said the khalq, the creating, is created. Let me also put here. khalq. And up here, khaliq. And here, makhluq. Okay? So the Ash'aris are saying if the khalq were eternal, the creation or the creating, then the makhluk would be eternal, created. And it is surely impossible that the makhluk is eternal, and therefore the khalq is created. The creation is created. Maturidis, the Ash'ari is saying creation is created, not eternal. The Maturidis are saying to the Ash'aris, creation is eternal, and the created thing is created. Creation is eternal because there's an eternal creator. He must have an attribute. The eternal creator must have an attribute called creation or creating. Khalq. Just to make the name valid in the first place. Creator. So we agree. The Maturidis are saying to the Ash'aris, you agree that Allah is creator, right? They're going to say yes. They say, and you agree that he is creator in eternity, right? So the Maturidis will say, the Ash'aris will say, yes. So the Maturidis will say, therefore, should be that he has an attribute that validates this name. Khalq, creation, or creating. In eternity, because he doesn't have a created attribute. The Ash'aris are going to say, no. And now, what if the Maturidis say to them, why? What's the problem with here? Why you have a problem here? So they have an example. The Ash'aris will say, for example, if there were a striker, that would mean there's a strike, right? A striking. A striking. And therefore, if there is a striker and a striking, there must be what? Something struck, isn't it? Yes. Yani. So, if the struck one, if we confirm a struck, no, sorry. They're going to say, so if we confirm a striking, that means we're going to confirm a struck one. They say like that. If you confirm a creating, then you're going to confirm a created one. So we're not going to say the created one is eternal. If you confirm an eternal creating, you're going to confirm an eternal created one. That's impossible. So we're not going to confirm an eternal creating because that's going to confirm an eternal created one. Just like if you confirm a striking, you're going to confirm a struck one. So then, we're not going to say that the Khaliq, the creator, has an eternal attribute of creating, because that's going to imply that there was an eternal created thing. So then, if the Maturidis say to them, then, according to you, what's the attribute of the creator then? Who can tell me? Can you tell me, Sister Yasmin or Brother Abdul Qawi? Then what's the Ash'ari's going to answer here to the Maturidis? If the Maturidis say, then what's the attribute of the creator then? What's their answer to the Maturidis?
Eternal, isn't it? Eternal?
What's the name of the attribute?
Let's call it,
Khaliq?
Power. They're going to say the creator is attributed with power, not creating.
That's the Maturidis, right?
That's the Ash'aris.
I thought the Maturidis said that the doing is the trace of Allah's power.
No, the Ash'aris say the doing is the trace of Allah's power.
Oh, that's all right. I'll go different. Yeah.
The Ash'ari say the doing is the trace of Allah's power. The creation is a trace of Allah's power. So let me back up for you. Let me ask you. You're going to tell me, inshallah ta'ala. So, the Ash'aris and the Maturidis, do they agree that Allah is Al-Khaliq, the creator?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do they agree that the makhluk has a beginning? Created.
Yes.
Yes, they do. Okay. So, the Maturidis, they say Allah is. Wait, here's my next question. Do the Ash'aris and the Maturidis agree that Allah is creator in eternity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the Maturidis, they are saying, since he is creator in eternity, and you Ash'aris, you agree with us, then we're going to say he has an attribute. What attribute? The the attribute that validates the name in the first place. Like, for example, if something lacks blackness, can you call it black?
No.
No. If something lacks softness, can you call it soft?
No.
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 So, when something has a descriptive name, it needs to have the attribute. If you're going to call something black, should have blackness. If you're going to call something soft, should have softness. So if you're going to call something creator,
That's what we're creating.
if you're going to call something creator, then you must have attribute called
Eternity.
I was
Eternal.
no create. Yeah, it needs to have
Should
the
have
same
a
word. It
power.
needs to come from the same word. The Maturidis are saying needs to come from the same word. You have to follow the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to call something black, it needs to have what attribute?
Blackness.
Blackness. The attribute blackness. If you're going to call something soft, that's the descriptive name. It needs to have what attribute? Softness.
Softness. Creator. Creation.
Like this. Yeah. If you're going to call something strong, it needs to have what attribute?
Strongest.
Or strength. Strength. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this. So the Maturidis are saying, if you're going to call something creator, it needs to have what attribute?
creating.
Creating.
Power.
No,
Creating.
not power. That breaks the pattern.
Creating.
Creating or creation.
So you can use both the creation.
Okay, here. If something has the attribute of power, what do you call? What would it be called? How would you describe it?
Powerful.
Powerful. Yeah, that's different. This is what the Maturidis are saying. The Maturidis are saying you're breaking the pattern here. If something has life, you're going to call it alive. If something has knowledge, you're going to call it knower. If something has sight, you're going to call it seer. If something has power, you're going to call it powerful. If something has creating, you're going to call it creator. Or say it the other way. If you describe something as seer, you're going to say it has sight. If you describe something as hearer, you're going to say it has hearing. If you describe something as knower, you're going to say it has knowledge. If you describe something as creator, you're going to say what? As creating or creation.
You're comparing and contrasting right now?
This is the Arabic language here. Yani,
no, I'm saying right now, did you just set the two side?
No, he wasn't
No,
saying
this is
that.
the Maturidi side.
Only one side. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They are. The
Can you?
Maturidis are the ones who are being consistent here.
You're going to also address the other side, like the way you are
But not
addressing.
before you understand the first side.
Okay.
We want to understand both sides.
Well, sometimes I understand it when you say one side and the opposite side. Like I want to
Yes, but
hear
now
both.
I'm trying to show one side, Yani. First,
Mm.
it needs to be clear here. Yani, I can't move
Yes.
now. This needs to be clear. The Maturidis are the ones who are being consistent here. There's, in other words, one way has a way that's it is perfectly consistent in Arabic language. What I'm translating. So they say, just like you would say, Yani, the one who's Qadir has attribute of Qudra. The Qadir, powerful, has the attribute of Qudra, power. The Alim, knower, has the attribute of Ilm, knowledge. The Hayy, alive, has the attribute of Hayah, life. The Basir, seer, has the attribute of Basar, see, sight. Then the Khaliq, creator, has attribute of Khalq, creating or creation. The Maturidis are saying to them, don't break the pattern. You're going to actually going against something here. You understand?
Yeah, I
They are
understand.
saying,
I understand what you say. It's a pattern. Anything you said, it goes with each other. It's a pattern. You don't want to
yeah,
break.
the Maturidis are saying Allah is powerful. We're not denying Allah is powerful, and we're not denying Allah has power. We are also saying Allah is Khaliq, creator, and He has attribute called Khalq. Because that's where the word Khaliq comes from in the first place. How are you going to confirm Khaliq and you don't confirm Khalq? Do you
You're telling
understand?
break it. Yeah, I understand. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you understand? It's clear. Their
I,
argument. Their argument.
yeah, I understand the argument. I
Okay.
understand.
Did you understand, sister?
Inshallah, I will further when you compare and contrast.
What's not clear? Tell me what's not clear
No,
about.
this side is clear. This
Okay.
side, what you just said, is clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So why the Ash'aris are disagreeing here? Why they don't just agree here? Because the Ash'aris are saying something, which is they are saying, okay, Allah is Khaliq in eternity. We agree. So the Maturidi is going to say to them, so you should say that He has Khalq in eternity. The Ash'ari is going to say, wait, hold on though. As if we say He has Khalq in eternity, that's going to imply that there's a makhluk in eternity, created thing in eternity. And we want to avoid that. We don't want to imply that there's a makhluk, a created thing in eternity. So we're not going to say there's a khalq in eternity. We're not going to say there's a khalq in eternity. We're going to say uh, there's a khaliq in eternity who has power. That's what the Ash'aris say. Yani, when the Maturidis ask them, if there's no khalq in eternity, then what's the attribute of the khaliq? So what are the Ash'aris going to say? What's their answer? Tell me.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. The Maturidis, they say, you agree with us that Allah is khaliq in eternity. So why you but not so sorry, they would say you agree with us that Allah is al-khaliq in eternity, uh, but you don't agree that He has an attribute of khalq in eternity. So what's His attribute then? What's the attribute of the khaliq then, according to you? So what's the answer of the Ash'aris?
It's power.
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 Okay. So the Ash'aris are saying the khaliq, the attribute of the khaliq is power.
Is they saying because that's already saying the power is the doing of the create is the action of the.
No, no, no. They are saying the doing is a trace of the power. They are saying Allah has an attribute called power. And this power, by this power, they say the khalq is really makhluk. The khalq is makhluk. Yani, they saying creation is created. Creation, the Ash'aris are saying, creation is created by the power of the creator. That's the Ash'ari way. The Maturidis are saying creation is created by the creating of the creator. The creating of the creator. Not the power of the creator, the creating of the creator. Did you understand this? Mm.
Say that again, Sheikh, with the Maturidis.
Yes. So let me give you some more examples. Let me give you more words. Maybe it's going to make it clearer for you. So, for example, what are some of these doings of Allah? According to the Maturidis, they are eternal. So the Maturidis, they say Allah is Al-Muhyi, life creator, and He is Al-Mumit, death creator. So the Maturidis are therefore saying the life creator, Al-Muhyi, He has an eternal attribute called Ihya, life creating, not power, life creating. That's His attribute. They said that's His eternal attribute, life creating, Ihya. And Al-Mumit, the death creator, he has an eternal attribute called Imata, death creating. So what you understand from life creation is not the same as what you understand from death creation. This is an attribute and this is an attribute, according to the Maturidis. According to the Ash'aris, they are saying Allah is Muhyi. This means the one who has power to create life. Power. They didn't say he has an attribute called life creating. They say he has an attribute called power. And they said Allah is Al-Mumit. This means the one who has the power to create death. So it means he has an attribute called power, not death creating. So for the Ash'aris, it all goes back to the power or the will. They say Allah has an attribute called power, and His doings are a trace of His power. He creates life. That's a trace of His power. He creates death. That's a trace of His power. He gives the sustenance. That's a trace of His power. He constricts the sustenance. That's a trace of His power. That's the Ash'ari way. As an attribute in eternity called power. The Maturidis are saying Allah is life creator. He has an attribute called life creating. And Allah is powerful. He has an attribute called power. The Maturidis are saying Allah is powerful. He has an attribute called power. And Allah is Muhyi, life creator. He has an attribute called life creating. And He is Al-Mumit, death creator. He has an attribute called death creating. And Allah is Al-Razzaq, provider. He has an attribute called Razq, providing. They didn't say power, power, power. So, according to the Maturidis, the doings of Allah are eternal attributes of His. According to the Ash'aris, the doings of Allah are traces of His power. Is that more clear, maybe, inshallah?
It's more very clear now.
How about you, sister? So the Ash'aris, they had an example that makes what they are saying more clear, according to them. Here. They said, if you confirm a striking, if you confirm a striking, then you must confirm a struck one. They might even ask us, do you agree? If you confirm a striking, isn't it that you must confirm a struck one? So we'll say, yeah, that's true. So they're going to say, likewise. Then, if you confirm creating, then you must confirm
You still there, Shay?
yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I just got a call that interrupted me. So here, let me actually do something here. Bismillah. So the Ash'aris would say, if there were a strike, a, a, a striking, wouldn't there be something struck? So we're going to say yes. So they're going to say, therefore, like that, if there were creating, then there would be something created. They said, and therefore, the creating itself would have to be created. You understand that? The Ash'ari said, just like if there were striking, there would have to be something struck. If there were creating, there would have to be something created. They said, then if there is a creating and therefore something created, this would mean that the creating is created, because it won't be clear of the created thing. So the creating must not be eternal. It can't be eternal. If it were eternal, then the created thing would be eternal. That's what the Ash'aris are saying. Is that clear?
Yes.
So they are saying, therefore, we agree that Allah is the creator, but we don't agree that he has an eternal creating. Because if he had an eternal creating, this would imply that there's an eternal created thing. That's the Ash'ari way. So what are the Maturidis going to say to that? They have an answer for that. So when you hear that, you might say, yeah, that makes sense. Isn't that what someone said to me? Hold on. I just want to read this message here. Someone said right here, I didn't finish reading the message, so I don't know. I'm going to see. It says, at the start of the lesson, I was very much in agreement and understood better what the Maturidis said. I think after this explanation, I understand, and I am inclined to exclusively see it the way the Ash'aris explain it. Like I can't unsee it or ununderstand it. This is mind-blowing. Allahu Akbar. Thank you. You're welcome. But what are the Maturidis going to say to the Ash'aris? The Maturidis are going to say to the Ash'aris, so you confirm a creator without an attribute then. Understand? You are confirming the creator without an attribute. Do you see the Maturidi perspective there? The Maturidis are saying to them, you're saying he's creator, but his creating is not eternal because it would mean the created thing is eternal. then you are saying there's a creator without an attribute. Is it clear? Tell me, please. They are saying to them, because why would he be called creator if he doesn't have the attribute that makes the name valid? So therefore, in the Maturidi perspective, you are calling him creator and not confirming his attribute that makes the name valid in the first place. Just like if something doesn't have blackness, we're not going to call it black. If it doesn't have whiteness, we're not going to call it white. If it doesn't have softness, we're not going to call it soft. So, if something doesn't have creating, we're not going to call it creator. If something doesn't have knowledge, we're not going to call it knower. And if something doesn't have sight, we're not going to call it seer. If it doesn't have power, we're not going to call it powerful. This is the Maturidi way. Any questions here so far? I think we're not going to get to read a footnote today, but I'm going to tell you, yeah, I want to respond to that message there. This is hopefully the person who said it's still here. Looks like they're not here. Okay, I'm going to take your silence as that you understand what I'm saying. If you don't understand, say something now, please. I want to make sure I don't say something on top of a misunderstanding.
Sheikh, I understand it, but
Sheikh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so I don't want you. I don't want you. So I be able to write it down correctly. I understand it. All I want to do is write it down correctly. What the Maturidis say and what you said. What I got stuck on is saying that the Maturidis say the doing of Allah is. That's all I got. What was
The
they saying?
Maturidis say the doing of Allah is eternal.
I got it.
Why? Tell me why. Why they
Doing.
will say that? Because he's doer in eternity. All this talk is revolving around here. Let me put a title here for these. All this talk is revolving around, let's put it this way: name, attribute, and let's say receiver. Okay? So, here. What's the name? Creator. What's the attribute then? Should be, according to the uh, pattern, should be creating or creation. And then what would the receiver of the act be called? Created. Makhluk. Yeah? Okay. So,
I was wondering if there can be a two-sided explanation written so we can see it visually.
perhaps. Let me see here. I'm just.
Just the way you're writing right now, the one side, I would like the other side on the other
This right
side of
here,
it,
what I
like
have here has
a
both
line in
sides at
the
the same
middle.
time. What I have from right here display and on display for you has both sides at the same time. Which is here, look at the name. They agree about the name, right? Creator. Khaliq, Al Khaliq. They agree.
Okay.
Here, hold on. Al Khaliq. They agree about the name. Now, as for the attribute, tell me, sister, do they agree that Al Khaliq has an attribute called Khalq in eternity?
Yes.
No, they don't.
See, that's why I need the two side because I
Okay.
have to see it visually. I
Okay.
can't just in my mind say, "Oh, you know what I mean."
Yes. Let me try for you, inshallah. And so what they agree here. Also, they agree about the name, and they agree about the receiver too. That's the. Here's where they agree. That's both sides here. They agree to the name Al Khaliq for Allah. They agree that the makhluk is has a beginning. They don't agree about the attribute. So here,
Now split this middle one into two parts. One side is saying
yes,
this, the
right
other
here.
side.
According to one side, the creator has an attribute called power, qudra. This is the Ash'ari way. According to the other side, the creator has khalq, creating. This is the Maturidi way.
Barakallah fik. That's much better.
Okay, so let me just put a space here to. So they agree that Allah is the Khaliq in eternity, and they agree that the makhluk is not eternal. But what's the attribute of the Khaliq? They don't agree. Is the attribute of the Khaliq called Khalq, or is the attribute of the Khaliq called Qudra?
Isn't it that they are two different attributes, power and khaliq, al khaliq, al qudra? They are two different
Khaliq is a
attributes,
name.
aren't they?
Khaliq is a name. We want, and for this discussion, we
Okay.
want to differentiate between the name and the attribute. You could call Khaliq an attribute, but here, don't call it an attribute or you're going to be confused. Here is a name in this subject here.
Okay. Khalq. What I mean by khalq and power,
Yeah.
like creating and power.
Yep.
Al khaliq and al qudra. Aren't they two different attributes?
Well, in the first place, Khaliq, are you asking me about Khalq or Khaliq?
Al khaliq and al qudra. Al
Okay.
qudra and al
Here.
khaliq, they are two different names, right? And then al
Well,
khaliq means creating,
but
and
look
al
what you're
qudra
doing.
means power.
Okay. Maybe you got the words mixed up a little bit. Al Khaliq is a name. It has own category over here. Qudra is an attribute. It's in different category over here. The way you're asking me the question is Khaliq and Qudra are different. They are in two different categories altogether. It seems to me your question should be Khalq and Qudra are different. Here, this is where they are different here. So if you want
Okay,
to
but
ask me,
my question is about the
yeah,
names now. The names
okay,
al khaliq and al qudra.
okay. So Qudra is the attribute. It's not the name. It's not the name.
Also,
The attribute is the attribute is what will validate for you some name. So if someone had the attribute of Qudra, what would he be called? Do you know? He'd be called Qadir, not Khaliq. Qadir, powerful.
Qadir and al khaliq, they are names,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yes, correct.
Al khaliq means the creator, al qadir
Yeah,
means the powerful.
correct.
Okay, so now how is this different? The names and the attributes, power, uh, qudra and al qadir. Qudra and
Because
Al-Qadir.
the difference is Qudra is the attribute. If someone has this attribute, you call him Qadir, not Khaliq.
So that's what I'm saying. For that attribute, there's a name, which is
Yes,
Al-Qadir.
yes. For this attribute, Qudra, there's a name, Al-Qadir. Correct. That's what the Maturidis are saying. The Maturidis are saying, why are you saying Khaliq has Qudra? Qudra goes with Qadir, not Khaliq. You understand?
Yeah, it can also go with Al-Khaliq because Al-Khaliq have to have a power to create something. So it goes with both names,
N-
power and
Not according to
uh,
Arabic
um,
language, though. Not according to Arabic language. There's a pattern. He says, so if you want to understand
okay.
this case well, you have to follow the pattern. That's why I gave you
I
those other
see. So
examples
it is
too.
the language. It is the language. It is the
Yes.
language, but they are both right. They are both correct. Why they are arguing against each other?
One of them is more accurate than the other.
Which one?
The Maturidi.
Okay.
It's more
I
accurate.
think that makes sense. Maturity makes more sense to me
Yeah.
because
It's
it
consistent
separates
all the way.
the other names of Allah Al-Qadir from
Yeah.
Al-Khaliq.
Yeah.
It gives rights to both of these names, whereas the other side kind of mixing the
Yes.
attributes and the names. Yeah. Okay. Barakallahu feek. I'm gonna make a screenshot. Are we going to write more
And
details before
yeah,
I
we
take
have
a
fun.
screenshot?
Well, we're about to end the lesson, inshallah. So I don't know how many much more details we're going to have, but we're going to be here next week, inshallah, on this same topic, if Allah enables us. So look here, the name Al Khaliq, they agree, and also the name Al Qadir, they agree. The Ash'aris and the Maturidis. And what's the attribute of Al Qadir?
Mhm.
Qudra, right? Yes, they agree. Also here, they agree. The one who is called Al Qadir has the attribute of Qudra. The one who has Qudra has the one who has the attribute of Qudra would be described as Qadir. They agree. Where they disagree here, that the Ash'aris are saying also the Khaliq has the attribute of Qudra. So the Maturidis is saying, wait, no, you're breaking pattern here. Al Khaliq has the attribute of Khalq, not the attribute of Qudra. Not when we say not the attribute of Qudra here, we're not saying he doesn't have the attribute. The Khaliq is Allah. We're not saying he doesn't have the attribute of power. We're saying the name Khaliq doesn't come from the word Qudra. You understand? If
Yeah.
something
Can
has,
you put that detail in what you just said? The name come. What you just mentioned. Can you put that in writing in somewhere that fits in this chart?
yes, Yani, well, hold on one second. Someone said Khalq and Qudra are actions of Allah. No, that's not correct. Qudra, power, is the attribute of the self, not an action. And they agree about that too. There's another thing that maybe also you need to understand is to understand the case. Allah has attributes of His self, and He has attributes of actions or doings, attributes of doings. Attributes of His self, you cannot confirm the attribute and its opposite. So the attributes of His self are life, so you can't attribute to Him death. Power, you cannot attribute to Him weakness. Knowledge, you cannot attribute to Him ignorance. Hearing, you cannot attribute to Him deafness. These are attributes of the self. Attributes of doings, you can confirm them and the opposite. So you say, He's life creator and He's death creator. So He's attributed with life creating. He's attributed with death creating. When you can do like that, that's called the doing of Allah. Khalq, creating, is a doing of Allah. Qudra, power, is an attribute of the self of Allah, not a doing. Uh, so they agreed, both parties agreed. Al-Qadir, the powerful one, is the one who has Qudra, power. And what would the receiver be called? Would be called Maqdur, powered, if you want. Powered, controlled. This, they have no disagreement here. Khaliq, the creator, the Maturidis are saying you should say the one who's attributed with khalq. Here, don't say here the one who's attributed with qudra, power, because doesn't go, linguistically doesn't go. So you, if the, tell me the answer to this question here. If the Ash'aris were asked, what's the attribute of the khaliq, the creator, what they're going to say?
Power.
Power. If the Maturidis were asked, what's the attribute of the Khaliq, the creator, what they're going to say?
Oh, creating.
Huh? Creating. Now let me ask you, why the Ash'aris don't want to say the Khaliq in eternity has Khalq in eternity?
They say the doing is the trace of Allah, Allah's power.
They said because if you say this Khalq is eternal, this is going to mean the Makhluq is eternal. That's what the Ash'aris said. They said just like here, if you say there's a striking, then there must be something struck. You cannot confirm a striking without confirming something struck. If you confirm a striking, you must confirm something struck. They say likewise, if you confirm khalq, a creating, then there must be a makhluk, a creation, a created thing. That's what the Ash'ari said.
Yeah, I agree with the sister Shay. I like the Maturidi way because the SREs were trying to look like they're saying that the receiver will be have an eternal creating.
They're saying the receiver would be eternal. Yeah,
Eternal.
have an eternal creating. Yeah, being, yes. So the Ash'aris are avoiding saying khalq is eternal because they think this means makhluk is eternal. But the Maturidis is saying no, it's not the case though. That's an assumption. We are just saying there's an eternal khaliq, has an eternal khalq. Has to have eternal khalq because he is khaliq in eternity. That's all. And the makhluk is created. The thing, the created thing has a beginning.
I'll write them both down, but like I said, I agree with the Maturidis. Do people still go? Let me ask you this question before you go off. People, anybody on Sunnah still disagreeing with these two sayings?
These are the two sayings of the people of the prophetic way.
But
Both of these ways is permissible to take them.
Yeah, I understand that. But is anybody right now that's going on right now disagreeing with either side?
Oh, Yani disagreeing with both of them at the same time? Or you mean them disagreeing with each other?
Yeah, disagreeing with.
I accept both of them, but I agree with Maturidi because they give explanation individually to the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the other side takes the one name of Allah and adds a new
Applies it to
kind
many
of
things.
meaning attribute to it, like power relating to al khaliq.
Yeah.
They just take that. They just take that. They avoid the that khaliq is the creator also.
Khalq is the attribute of
He's
the
the
creator.
creator. Yes, we know he have a power, but his qudra, his power is relating to the names called name of Allah, that is Al Qadir.
Yes.
That's why I don't reject any of these sides, but I
Yeah.
agree more strongly with
Hakada.
the other.
To answer your question more clearly, brother, before we get out of here, um, is there anyone amongst them? Are they still debating? Yani, this is known issue. So if someone studies the Aqidah, he's just going to learn these two sayings. And yani, if he gets to learn them, he will learn the two sayings. If he gets to learn their arguments, he will learn their arguments. It could be that a person learns the Maturidi way, never learns the Ash'ari way. Or a person learns the Ash'ari way, never learns the Maturidi way. And so you're going to be safe. Or someone might learn both ways, and then what's he going to do? He's going to compare them. See which one has stronger argument. Both of them are acceptable, but one of them has stronger argument.
Yeah, definitely. So I understand it because I just literally just had an argument with somebody about that. Somebody from Hawaii about the creation. Well, the brothers. I'm looking at the brother comment. They believe that the creation creates, has eternal existence with God. I told him that is not correct. I gave him the example, like what you just said about Maturidis, example, that the creating thing is not create. The creating thing is not eternal. It's not doesn't exist with Allah at all. So
Yeah.
I they, I wouldn't be able to use the Ash'ari way because they would agree with that. Oh yeah, you agree with me that the creating thing is eternal. No, I wouldn't be able to use that on them.
Yeah. So the and both sides know that neither one, even when the Ash'aris say, if you say there's a khalq in eternity, means there's a makhluk in eternity, they know the Maturidis don't believe there's a makhluk in eternity. But they're saying this is what your talk leads to, so we don't want to say it that way. And the Maturidis are saying to them, no, doesn't even imply that really. That's just an assumption. You're saying if there's an eternal khalq, there must be an eternal makhluk. That's an assumption. Why? It doesn't have to be. Just there's an eternal creator with an eternal creating, and the created thing comes into existence at the time that he willed for it to come into existence. There's no eternal created thing. And this is consistent to the mind. It doesn't go against anything in the Quran or the Sunnah, and it also complies with the Arabic language. The Ash'ari way, they're going to say, we are not taking a linguistic stance here. So that's part of what makes the Ash'ari argument for the Maturidis weaker, because they must diverge from the Arabic language to substantiate what they are saying here. If when the Maturidis ask the Ash'aris, what is the attribute of the Khaliq if it's not Khalq? The Ash'aris are going to say Qudra. So then the Maturidis will say it doesn't work though. Why is going to be Qudra? Then he's going to be Qadir, not Khaliq. So then what are the Ash'aris going to answer though? They're going to say, okay, but that's a linguistic take. We are just not taking a linguistic take here. We are saying Allah is Khaliq in eternity because it came in the Quran. And we are saying he has the attribute of Qudra. We're not going to say he has the attribute of Khalq in eternity because it implies there's an uncreated makhluk. And the Maturidis say, no, it doesn't imply that. We don't agree. This is an assumption on your part. So the masters amongst the scholars who talked about this issue and made us know, yani, amongst them are those who say the Maturidi way is stronger. However, the Ash'ari way is easy though for many people. And if you want to teach a person, you may just teach him the Ash'ari ways, because easy. You say to him, Allah is the creator in eternity. He has the power to create. And then he's going to be fine. The one who hears that is fine. And you're not telling him words that make him dizzy. He doesn't have wrong belief. So you teach him like that. And then when he builds up his knowledge and his comprehension, you can give him more. You say to him, but there's a case that the theologians, the Sunni Muslim theologians, differed about. It's the case of taqween, creating. They said this and that. All right, but I need to stop here for today, inshallah ta'ala. So we didn't even get to read the footnote. Had it been valid to say that al-Khaliq means the one who has the power over the khalq and not the one for whom khalq is confirmed, it would be valid to give him any adjective, etc. So we wouldn't have understood this footnote anyway, without going through all of what we went through. Study, inshallah ta'ala, what we went over today. Next week, we will attempt to cover this footnote, inshallah ta'ala. And I can't take any question if you have one. I need to go. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdihi.